Hello and welcome to Simplified, the podcast that is guaranteed to make you smarter without actually making you smarter in any way. And this morning, we've got Tony and myself. The other two podcast hosts have scampered off into the wilderness. Chuck is moving houses, I think. And Srikeit is in a faraway land where the sun hasn't risen yet. So, how have you been, Tony?
All good, Naren. I'm actually speaking to you from Kerala. So the
nice.
background noise you hear is actually all of my Kerala fans cheering for me. Actually, literal
Kerala fans.
Because how hot is it? What is going on? But anyway, you woke me up early in the morning, Naren, to discuss something very important. So I'm all curious to figure out what we're talking about.
You know, there's this thing about the international language of love, okay, which is French. And this podcast is not about French, alas, but I have to tell you.
Do you know what is the Indian language of love?
No.
It's basically, have you eaten, right? Whichever language it is like, Saptiya, Uta Aita, culture, Khana Khaya, whatever. Yeah. Have you eaten? That's it. You will remember this from your Udyan Express story that you told us last time.
Yeah. That's literally the number one way people have of expressing their love for each other, which is why India is such a happy country, because everybody you observe has a pot belly, which means there is somebody at home who loves them. Right? Yeah. Anyone, be suspicious of anyone. So my son goes to the gym and he doesn't have a belly. And I keep telling him, if he ever happens to go abroad, they're not going to let him back in without a very suspicious interview, right? Because how can you have an Indian passport and have no midriff?
Yeah. Are you running away? Have you been?
What is it like? There is international conspiracy afoot here. Yeah,
but
so
you were going to tell us something about the French,
Yeah, so when I was young, and which is a long time back, I thought that the international language of love was French, and there happened to be a French institute very close to my office. It was called the Alliance Française de Bombay. And very soon, for obvious reasons, people started calling it Alliance Gone Case the Bombay. So it wasn't all Gone Case people used to. But that was the first time I seriously I tried to learn
love.
The language of love. And then I forgot all about it because I got married, right? So...
We got a literary crash course in
yeah. And then I read this book called The 5 Love Languages, which is complete rubbish, actually. It's a rubbish book. And I have to say this upfront because I haven't read such a ridiculous book in my life, but such it is.
There are podcasts out there that try to promote themselves, to the best possible extent, who actually put out like great social media content, or at the very least have like a coherent start. Even if not that, they probably have a hook at the beginning to say, what we're going to tell you is actually quite interesting. The only podcast out there, which relies on radical candor, as it were, to say, what we are here about is rubbish.
We are the George Washington and Abraham Lincoln of podcasts, right? All the thing. Who cut the cherry tree? I did, father. Yes. Right up front. Yeah. What are we talking about? This book. Is it good? It is rubbish. Okay.
Why are you still here? Because you love us. That is the only love language that I know, that our listeners share with us for some weird reason. There should be a book written about.
Yeah.
But enough about you and writing books, Naren. This is about a book you read. Yeah, 5 love languages.
5 love languages. And like all rubbish books, you know what happens to rubbish books, right? They go to the top of the New York bestseller, New York Times bestseller. So that's what happened. But I have to tell you one thing. After all the initial cringe about all, so why is it rubbish? We will come to why it's rubbish, but that's not really important. What the book is saying, I thought was very nice. The only thing is, the book is about 250 pages long, and this whole thing could be written in 5 pages. So that's why, 195 of the
it could have
other
been a
pages
simplified shorts.
Yeah, it could have been a simplified half pint. Yeah. So, but it was good, and a lot of the things. I mean, all the principles that the book is talking about was something that most of us can easily relate to, and let's go into that and judge for ourselves.
Yeah, so I think there's this written by this author called Gary Chapman, right? And I think there's another cricketer called Mark Chapman, and discussing how Chapman is literally the most basic guy name you can have. It's like two dudes pontificating about
Chapman.
mansplaining. That is what this book is basically about. And you know what? The funny thing is, when you write a book, at least there will be one person who is hopeful of the thing, would be the publisher, right? And basically, in the reception part of the wiki article of this book, it says the book sold 8,500 copies in its first year, which is 4 times what the publisher expected. And I'm even you guys didn't believe this will do well. But I think 2 years later, it sold 150,000 copies or something like that. So it became smash hit back in your time.
Yeah. Eventually, apparently 15 million copies plus have been sold.
Oh my God.
It's something which is, like all good self-help books, very, very basic and intuitive. So it's talking about something pretty basic, and people can, sort of relate to what this guy is saying. And then that's how it, and you sort of amplify it into your own consciousness, your own life, your own little world, whatever it might be saying. And everything means different for each of us, because our own circumstances are different from each other. So what something means to you, the same thing wouldn't mean the same identical thing to me. It might mean something else. So basically, I'll just go into the.
It's basically like that thing, no? At the if you've been at a pub, when you're young and all that, and the songs keep changing, and suddenly everyone's like, "Oh my God, that's my song!"
Exactly,
because they relate to something that they experienced, or the lines or something like that, right? So self-help books work pretty much the same way.
And this one, so let's just cover the basic idea of the book. The basic idea of the book is that people in a relationship, so usually when you get into a relationship, be it a marriage, be it just a relationship, you do have a particular view of your partner. So there is a lot of love and there's a lot of affection, everything. They call it the honeymoon period for a reason. So, you really there's nothing wrong in each other that you can see. And then as time goes on, scales fall from your eyes. And you're like, my partner is useless and doesn't do this, doesn't do that. And curiously, your partner has pretty much the same ideas herself or himself, right? He's useless. And
it's a mutual unadmiration society.
Yeah, mutual unadmiration society. And why would two people have such opposing views about each other? And the reason is, what Chapman says is, we are speaking different languages. So we don't understand what the partner is saying. So what are these? So I used to think the love language, one of them would be the thing you say on tennis courts, 15 love, 14 love, that kind of stuff. But apparently that's not what it is. It is, there are 5 different things. So one is words of affirmation. So words of affirmation are, some of us will be able to relate to this easily. You have a partner who is very critical. So you do 100 things, okay? And 99 of those things are really nice things. And that is the standard. So no one, your partner will not even mention that, or they're supposed to do. But one thing you do which wasn't right, you'll have harsh words of criticism for that. And then that puts you off. And then you say, what's the use? And then you stop doing anything. And then the relationship starts going south from there. So words of affirmation, there are some people who like to have positive things said about them all the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I can imagine, I don't know anyone like this, but yeah, I mean, you have to say, oh, you're looking so nice today, or you did good, or that's a lovely garbage you took out last night. Something like that, right? So that is words of affirmation. Then there is...
This is actually true, because I mean, not just in relationships, right? I mean, a lot of it is contextual. So if you've grown up in Kerala like I have, a lot of the love language is actually sarcasm, right? Like, who can give the other person a better zinger, right? Like, how can you insult the other person? But then, like, and then promptly I was smack bang in the world of hospitality, and every morning I would hear, oh, what a lovely sari you're wearing, you're such a rock star, and I'm like, what's going on? So I mean, a lot of it is contextual, but to be honest, now that I've experienced both, I tend to prefer the latter rather than the singers, which are quite but
so the idea is very nice. Yeah, so the idea is very nice. It's like when you have only positive things to say, the person of his or her own volition does things which you want them to do. So, that's... It's not for everyone. It's for those people for whom the love language is words of affirmation. So there are some people who, the moment you start criticizing them or being sarcastic, they just clam up shut, and then the relationship will go south. And there are some people to whom it doesn't matter. For me, for example, you can criticize and be as sarcastic as you want, and I really wouldn't care, because I don't care.
So you're still on Simblified, Naren.
Yeah. But my wife doesn't like to be criticized at all. You have to compliment her all the time. Don't tell her I told you this. She doesn't listen to Simplified. But
there is no danger of her listening to the podcast.
There's no danger.
Good.
So that is one love language. And if that is the love language for your partner, and if you don't speak that love language, it's very difficult for you to reach the inside of that person. Like, to have a bond, you need to sort of touch somewhere inside. So that's the whole funda of this book. And the second language is what he calls acts of service. So some people love that. My wife loves that too. So you have to do something. So without being told. So in my case, sort of, if I come, make the bed, clean up the room, put my books aside, do a little bit of dusting, put a few flowers and things like that, I was very happy. Okay. And
clean up after you cook in the kitchen.
Clean up after you cook in the kitchen, those kind of things. So they are acts of service, and for some people very important. For some people not so much, right? So you said, okay, somebody we have someone who will come in the morning and do that. So don't bother. And for some people it might be that if you actually sit down and clean, they might think what kind of a daft person this is. But for some people that's very touching. So you need to know if your partner speaks that language too. So for some people, that would be, that would be valuable. Or other people that won't. And so the third love language is the language of gifts. So there are many people who like receiving gifts. Yeah. No matter how insignificant.
I'm yet to meet a person who doesn't like receiving gifts.
There are a few. Yeah. So they're actually embarrassed if you give them any gift. Okay. So they become a little sort of worried. Why am I getting a gift kind of thing? But most of us do. We like it's not the gift itself, it's the thought, right? So it could be anything, a modest thing or whatever, a coffee mug or a t-shirt or anything. But what it says is that, I thought about you. Or a selfie stick, Somebody actually famously gave me a selfie stick. We appreciate the thought behind it. We like to...
And it has to be the thought, right? Because usually people obviously don't know what kind of gifts you like or want. I think there is this quote by in-house MD, right, where Mr.
How
Gregory,
our
Dr. Gregory says,
Hugh Laurie, yeah.
gifts allow us to demonstrate exactly how little we know about a person, and nothing pisses off a person more than being shoved into the wrong pigeonhole. So yeah, the item itself, I don't think will matter too much, but yeah, it has to be the thought.
Yeah.
So always buy cheap gifts. I think that is our
Yeah, that's a takeaway. Yeah. That way, even if you're wrong, if you have shoved the person in the wrong pigeonhole, you wouldn't lose much money. Yeah,
correct.
I mean, what you get a big fat diamond ring or something, and that person just disdainfully throws it into the waste paper basket, and where would you be? The credit card bill to pay.
I've heard so many stories from you, Naren. I've never heard a re-gifting story from you. I'm sure there must have been some item from your past somewhere that just kept getting re-gifted and finally found its way back to you.
In my time, when I was getting married, all my friends, like same age group, right? One after the other, everyone was getting married. There was this casserole. Okay, so the standard gift was a casserole. And this was a plastic thing with a stainless steel bowl inside, and you could it was the size of chapati. So the whole thing was you put chapatis inside and then they stay. So that was the little sort of sticker on the thing which said that, hey, you can have hot chapatis any time of the day. So I received I remember giving one casserole to one of my friends got married before. So we bought a casserole, packed it up nicely with a little bow and gave it to him. And I got married after about 6 months or 7 months. I got a gift in return. So when I opened it, it was the same casserole. And I just happened to mention it to another friend, like a friend who had not given me that casserole. And he slapped his forehead and he said, oh, that gift had somehow come to me. I was the guy who had given it to the guy who gave you the thing. So we came to the conclusion that there were only some 10 or 11 casseroles in the universe, and they were just the entire worldwide supply of casseroles were 11, and they were just going to different people's and weddings. That was the conclusion.
Yeah, but you still loved each other because the thought mattered, and they showed up at your wedding and give you a casserole.
And a casserole which could keep my rotis warm. You never know, right? It's very important.
Yeah.
So that was about gifts. The fourth language of love is what he calls quality time. So this one, actually, I can relate to, very important in my house. So you have to take your partner out or spend some time with your partner, just exclusively devoted to the partner, nothing else. So, you put your very important WhatsApp messages on where the country is going, all those things on the side, right? Yeah. And you just sort of gaze into your partner's eyes or whatever it is that people do. I don't know. And for some people...
Some things are still the same, Naren. You're not that outdated.
I sort of forget sometimes, but I dimly recollect what people do.
They've not changed the full syllabus. It's not like NCERT is writing the love language textbook.
So... that is quality time. And I think this is pretty important. This is where actually, I could relate to a lot of people I know whose marriages were under strain because both partners are really not keen on spending time in each other's company. And
I think it's not that. Is it that you're not keen, or is it like the first thing that you said about baselining? And you just take it for granted, right? Like this person is there with you your entire life, right? And you just feel like you can talk to them at any point. Yeah. But like this IPL match is going on, I have to make this witty comment on a WhatsApp group or like,
exactly. This is absolutely what happens, and that's how it starts. And then once it's also, humans are far more perceptive than they think they are. You can get a person's vibe, even if you are the most insensitive person, if a person is warm to you or cold to you instantly. And
Right.
if you've not been spending quality time with your spouse or your partner, and your partner is giving you cold vibes, you will sense that. And that's going to push you further and further away from. So it's like a death spiral. It's one of those vicious circles. And then before you know what's happening, you are living in two separate universes. It is over. In India, it's not over. You just continue in
You
your
still
two
get
separate
gifted
universes.
a casserole or
Yeah,
whatever
every now and then.
from time to time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the only way to repair that is to somehow break that spiral, come out, make an effort, and spend quality time. So there will be some cynicism in the beginning. So when you do all that and you come and your spouse says, okay, you must be wanting something. So, I don't, babe, I just want to be with you.
What's your ankle? Huh?
Yeah, what's your ankle? What do you want? Yeah, tell me what do you want me to do? Types, and that's that it's a valuable insight. Which again, I mean, Simplified has just saved you 250 rupees or whatever for that book, and you can take it inside and amplify it. But you can read the book. I mean, for all that I keep saying it is rubbish. It's not really. It's rubbish because it's very inane. It gives very made up anecdotes. But the principles I think are pretty good. It's all about communication. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
but
the last,
is he saying that there are people who don't like quality time as a
no, this is how he says the thing works. So you stop, and when you stop giving quality time to each other, there develops a coldness between the two of you. Then, if you ever attempt to have quality time together, because of the coldness, there is not going to happen. There's not going to be quality time there. It's just two cold people sitting in a room and nothing happening. There's no chemistry happening. There's no warmth of affection. So you say, what's the use, right? And then you go further away, and the cold becomes even colder.
Right.
So it's an ever widening gulf. How do you bridge it? So he says it is possible to bridge it. You just have to reach out and do this repeatedly, and eventually people will come together, because that is the natural state of human being. It is being human means being warm towards people. Being cold towards people is not a natural state for humans to be in. And I do think so. For most people, there are special category. There are people whose shells you just can't crack. But most people, you will, if you just go spend some time with them, they will warm up to you. This usually happens.
Yeah. So, I've had this. I mean, I don't know tell me what I'm doing wrong in this situation. I took my partner out for a drive, and on the drive, I played the Simplified episode so that she could hear. I was like, is this quality time or is it not? Like, should you play a podcast on a drive with your partner? What is your take there?
So in my case, easy answer, absolutely no, right? So definitely not. I've tried, and it's not just specifically Simplified. I've played Amit's podcast. I've played, I think, Scott Galloway's podcast. She's like,
you basically put her off podcast for life. Like,
yeah. So her point is, how is it that you have so many things to say on the podcast, but nothing to say to me? So it's a very dangerous area to get into. Yeah. So
correct. Yeah. So quality time means like just the two of you and nothing else, and preferably no references to podcasts.
Yeah, and it means different things for different people also, right? So for some people, it might be a wordless sort of, just everyone, both of you just shut up, hold hands and look at the stars. And for someone
doing
else,
something together.
Yeah, watching a movie, or I don't know, sort of
going on a trek. Playing Scrabble, something.
Playing India's national sport, the very intense sport of carom. That is also a lot of physical exertion there. So, so that was about quality time. And the last item on his list is physical touch. So this is, it's not that physical touch. Now, that physical touch is also important, but it's just just holding hands or a hug or just sitting close together and that kind of thing. You'll be you'll be surprised to know there are several people that I know who are very uncomfortable with that, with their own partners as well. So they I know I have friends who will not even hold hands in pub. They will. They will not even stand closer. Even if you're if you're in a there's a photograph or something. They'll sort of they'll be like one of those inside an atom there are two protons and like they're together but they can't touch either because both of them are that kind of stuff, right? So they'll be and
it's like that. You remember that meme? I think it is A.R. Rahman, which when the gap he maintained, which is that when he's has to take a picture with women or something like that, he'll make sure that there is a perceptible gap between him and the closest woman.
Which is very admirable. Which is very admirable when you're doing with random women. But with your own partner, and especially when the world knows that you got 3 or 4 kids together, it's not that
by proxy,
or gigantic sperm donation operation that you're egg fertilization operation that you're everyone's biology works the same way. But there are people like that, and there is this distance which also develops. So when you don't, for some people, if you don't hold their hand or touch them or be close to them, they interpret it as you not loving them. And the same cycle starts, right? So then you become colder. I mean, your partner becomes colder. And then because you sense the coldness, you go further away from the partner. You say, hey, my partner is cold, so no point in being physically close. And ironically, the only way to break that is to actually be physically close. So actually suffer the initial snide remarks when your partner will tell you, oh, what is it that you want now? That thing. And sort of break through that little veneer of cynicism, get closer and, get some chemistry going. So this now is 250 rupees worth of Gary Chapman's book. Still, you can still go buy it and read it. It's a very easy read. You can read it in I read it in 3 hours or something like that. As the state of my recall will tell you, I'd actually had to Google out the list. But the general flavor is this. So my takeaway was that it's all about communication. We know that. Married people know that people who have been married for some years, and now you are in that category too. It's a transition, right? It's a transition from the very physical aspect of love. And, you are like, wow, each of you are magnetically attracted to each other. And then it tapers off. That's the human state of being. You can't expect that to continue all the time. After that, what is it that keeps your relationship going? That's the whole question. It's just communication. It's just different ways of reaching out to your partner, being connected, and making sure that your relationship is one of whatever love, trust, or a combination of all of those.
And I think one of the important things is both of you might have different love languages, right? And you will need to sort of reach out in the language that your partner prefers, which is often tougher.
That's what the book talks about. So it's saying that, hey, you guys probably have different love languages. You learn to speak each other's love language. The only problem is, and this is where the book is a little bit of rubbish, is that if you read the book, it appears that the love language is very self-evident, instantly. So the way his anecdote,
feedback loop is right there.
And oftentimes in my experience it is not. It is not. Your So a partner might want physical touch, but your partner is never going to tell you in any way that they want the physical touch. You will not, and because this is gradual, you will not even realize that it is that physical touch which is missing. So you have to. What is good about this book is it gives you a little framework, very simple framework of just 5 different things. You can try all of them, and it's very likely that your partner will appreciate all 5 or 4 out of those 5 or 3 out of those 5. It's not just one thing. The book makes it looks like that one button, right? So you press that button, everything is fine. No, real life is far more complicated, but it's a great framework is what I thought. So I thought, I'm going to sort of apply it. I just had to figure out what words of affirmation is what my partner has to do for me. I mean, she always
your podcast is great.
And I will definitely know that's a lie. And I'm like, what do you want? Yeah. Moment she says your podcast is great is a big red flag.
Big red.
What?
It's probably how you know, right? Like there's this thing to say, how do you know if a person's being held for ransom? Like what is the thing that they can tell you without letting the captors know? Like if at the end of the call, it's like, have you finished recording your wonderful podcast? And you're like, oh no. Alarm bells ringing in the background. Yeah. No, but the biggest endorsement for this book was at the end of that small Wikipedia article. It says a 2006 study by something suggests that this book might have some degree of psychometric validity. So I think some degree is this.
No, actually, the entire book is just driven by anecdotes, right? So there's no pretense of any thing.
Yeah,
like it's
rigorous scientific.
I've read some criticism of this book about being very sort of gender stereotypical, like
like we said, mansplaining.
Yeah, man. So all the women, are grateful when their husbands help out with the chores. The point of view is that the chores actually belong to the women.
Gender roles,
And the guys, graciously go and help. Like it's not their job to do it. I mean, they come, they would rather sit on the sofa with their feet up and with a mug of beer watching the football game, and they see their wife washing the dishes. So out of those 100 dishes, you go and wash one, and the wife is supremely grateful. So that's the tone of the thing. It's like and somebody explained to me why so somebody in the Midwest was asked why are women's feet smaller than men's feet, and the answer is that so that they can stand closer to the dishwasher. So that's the closer to the sink. Something else. That's where this thing comes from.
But I mean, it's a book from quite a way back as well, right? I think some 30 years plus.
It was in the late 90s or 2000, early 2000 that it was written.
Oh, really? Okay. 1992 book. 92, just post liberalization. The author.
Then they sort of cleaned it up. They got rid of a lot of the very obvious gender typical nonsense, and then they.
Oh, this is an interesting question, which I think could be a simplified episode on its own. Recently, there's been news of Wodehouse books being, changed to fit, and I think other books also, right? Kipling or Dickens or
Agatha Christie for sure. Roald Dahl.
Agatha Christie.
Yeah.
What's your take on this?
So I think it's complete stupidity because we have to be mature enough to realize. So why? So if I call you an offensive name, or if I call, say an African American the N word, it's offensive because it carries a lot, connotation, and a lot of things have happened since the use of that word. But there was a time when that word was pretty common, right? So that was. And not everyone who used the word carried all the baggage of, of all negativity that came with that word. So it's, the N word is still a very, very egregiously bad example.
Charged
charged one. But Other things, whatever I forget, I read a piece, I forget what words specifically they were that Woodhouse used, but they're very trivial. And, this is that woke moment where you make statements about your morality by declaring things non-kosher, right? So that's it.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
actually go. And time and again, we have seen, even in the Me Too movement, the loudest voices were the ones who are the worst offenders. There are several people who come out raging in support of the Me Too and find out that they've sort of molested half a dozen people or, sort of exploited their relationships or whatever it was. So it's orthogonal is what I think.
Yeah.
And literature has, has many functions, and being politically correct is not one of them. So I don't think...
Right.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this entire thing. It just destroys the flow. What do you think?
No, I agree with you. I think which is why we need to have a full simplified discussions with all four of us.
And with examples, right? So that will be right. Offhand, the example doesn't come to mind. But when you have very concrete example, you might sort of see how ridiculous that entire exercise is.
Yeah, absolutely. One other thing that I want to ask you, based on what you said, and not really related to the book itself, was in terms of you said this book is basically very banal, and you could have probably intuited it out, etc. Right? What is the need to read a book? Is it so that your thoughts are validated, which is what I think this book is, versus it
not
giving
really.
some...
So in my case, at least, for all that I'm dissing the book, it gave me a very simple framework, to look at my relationship with my partner.
Yeah.
And a lot of these things, while I might, when you read it, you say, I knew this, but you don't see it in that framework. And now this framework is in my mind, and I'm going to sort of apply it for nearly every transaction that I have with my wife. So it simplifies
simplifies.
Yeah.
It is dangerously getting into consultants territory, right?
Yeah.
BCG and McKinsey guys listening to this. Yes, we told you so. This is why we put frameworks to everything. No, but in general, right? Reading books helps because you don't have to derive the first principle yourself, right? You can sort of take off from there and not have to do the base work, as it were, right?
Yeah.
And I think, even if it's a very, very banal book, it'll help in some way or the other.
There is also this problem with all these books is you have the effect, when it's like one of those tonics, right? You have that Mulliner's buck you uppo, and you have the buck you uppo, and you are raring to go, full of confidence, and you can do superhuman feats of everything. And, it's like Asterix and the magic potion, right? So when you have the magic potion, you have and afterwards all your strength is gone. So a lot of these books, self-help books especially, are that. When you read them, everything is rejuvenated, you're all raring to go. But inside, you are a different person, and the whole thing collapses on that person, and you become what you are at the end of whatever that effect is. So we've been there. There are all these things about. So favorite category is procrastination books, right? So the sheer popularity of that genre, everybody procrastinates. Everybody is disturbed by the amount that they procrastinate. So they have literally reams and reams of things that they were supposed to have done and they haven't. And then they read books, and then they make lists, and then they sort of get down, wake up at 6 a.m, and all that happens for a week, and they are back into familiar territory.
I think we need to do the opposite. We need to start shaming people who are too productive, saying you're the ones doing it wrong. Why haven't you procrastinated 8 out of 10 on this list? What is this? We have to do that. There's
in fact, there is in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, there is this very terrible torture called a total perspective vortex. So what happens is the worst torture in the world, right? So what is the torture? You take the person, the being, and you put it into the total perspective vortex, and for 5 minutes, that person realizes how pointless and meaningless the entire universe is. So that's the thing that people, all these ultra productive achiever type people should know. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah.
What are you doing it for?
Yeah.
Be like
Exactly.
me. Yeah, procrastinate. Do it.
As soon as I said go procrastination, our producer Anthony has buzzed us saying, guys, please, we are already recording at the last possible minute with as few hosts as possible for every episode. You guys need to be more productive. So I mean, to each his own, but in general, I feel like it's okay. Naren, it's okay. You're not a bad person for procrastinating. Now say it back to me, Naren. Words of affirmation. Have you learned nothing from this book?
No, I have learned lots. And the only sort of, piece left in the puzzle is to implement everything that I've learned. So now now I know that there are languages I should be speaking, which I am not. And if I speak those languages, it is very possible
it won't be alliance conquest.
Yeah. So Romeo and Juliet would look like puppy love compared to what me and my partner are going to have after this. So stay tuned. There will be a special episode of Naren having practiced the 5 love languages prescriptions and then come back.
Naren leaves Simblified.
Naren.
Because it's found fulfillment. Oh my God.
60-year-old man has 7 children types. Those kinds.
Okay. I think we are at a logical end point for this episode.
So
all that's left for you
is stay safe, stay loving, and stay simplified. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.